Disclaimer. The content provided in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. While we discuss topics related to mental health advice, life wisdom, and alike, the opinions expressed are personal views of the hosts and do not constitute professional, legal, or medical advice. We make no representations or warranties about the accuracy or completeness of the information discussed. Any action you take based on the information in this podcast is strictly at your own risk, and we are not liable for any losses or damages in connection with its use. Additionally, this podcast may contain discussions around addictions, substances, which are intended for adult audiences. We do not endorse any illegal activities. Please consult your local laws before engaging in any actions related to this content. By listening to this podcast, you agree that you are over the age of 18 or the age of majority in your jurisdiction and understand the terms of this disclaimer.
Welcome to the Balancing Forces podcast, where two opposites collide in the best way possible. One brings the fire,
the other keeps it chill.
But together we share life's lessons, hard-earned wisdom,
advice you can actually use.
Whether you need a fresh perspective or just a laugh, we're here to elevate your mind. So buckle up, because things are about to get real and
really funny.
Are you ready to level up your astrology game? Join the Alchemist Laboratory by Solar Systems. For just $33 a month, you get access to 10+ courses, a resource library, manifestation secrets, live Q&As, and so much more. Over $2,300 in value. Transform your understanding of astrology and unlock hidden knowledge. Sign up now through the school app and follow Solar Systems on TikTok and Instagram.
Bonus Track 10, When Positive Energy Sources Turn Negative. One of the things that can happen when doing the diamond and raw sewage exercise is that you may realize that some things, people, places, circumstances, beliefs, values, and paths do not fall completely in one column or the other, but in fact land between, bearing both positive and negative energy in your life. There is good energy coming from it, but also rotting, heavy energy. In this case, it is necessary to assess whether the negative energy outweighs the positive to a significant degree, for a significant amount of time, and if it holds little hope of returning to a largely positive state, such that it can be moved entirely into the diamonds column. If the general trend of a particular aspect of your life seems to be moving slowly or quickly, yet inexorably into the raw sewage column, then it is either or will be necessary to begin taking steps to remove it from your life, or at least radically reduce its presence in your life. You may not want to admit that some formerly beloved element of your life has moved into the raw sewage direction or has done so to a large degree, but that doesn't change the fact that it is pretty clear what is happening and therefore needs to happen next. In any case, it is helpful to understand why something makes that shift from being in the positive energy column to moving toward and fully into the negative column. Simply put, you are changing. You are growing. You are evolving. Whether you like the idea or not, we all change and evolve. As a result, things, people, residents, dreams, values, relationships, path that fit before can begin to chafe. We outgrow things from our pasts. Things cease to fit. There is no guarantee anywhere of anything being permanent. But because we find security in that which is familiar, and because we fear losing happiness if we change, we cling to that which has been in fear of that which might be. And slowly, that which has been begins to slip into the raw sewage column. In fact, many things eventually do, big and small, if for no other reason than the law of diminishing returns. More of something does not mean more happiness. If action is not taken on the sources of raw sewage in your life, they become fetid. They stink up your life and make you feel yucky inside. Silly as that may sound, it's 100% true. Removing the sources of stink in your life is critical to growth. Creation is invariably preceded by destruction. That which no longer gives you life must be destroyed, so to speak, to make room for new creations, a new life. And as an aside, occasionally raw sewage can drift slowly into the diamonds column, but this requires distance and or some jarring event, so that former sewage can be seen in a new light and felt with new openness. Too many diamonds. There is another phenomenon that happens with positive energy sources in our lives. It happens when we have too many. On many occasions, I have clients who report that they have so many things they want to do that they can't find time to rest. Or they find themselves becoming anxiety-ridden because they can't seem to complete or actively engage in all the good and great things they want to do. Now that seems like an odd thing. Seemingly, adding more positive things, people, value, paths, experiences to life should only bring more positive energy. And actually, that is true. So how can more positive bring about the negative of anxiety? It can happen two ways. 1. As mentioned in the Diamonds and Raw Sewage chapter, it is the common mistake made by those trying to get happy. They add more diamonds without getting rid of the raw sewage. Life is still cluttered with the drag and the drain of sewage, affecting no room for increased diamonds. There are only so many hours and only so much energy in the day. Spend them on the sewage and there's less time and energy for the diamonds. But the second way is when the pursuit of the positive energy sources, the diamonds, is driven by something other than sheer bliss. I had a client, Jennifer, 28, who was knocking all sorts of stuff off her bucket list. Run a marathon, play in a volleyball league, take jiu-jitsu classes, on top of working 40 plus hours at a job she loved, and continuing to make time for and build a relationship with her new husband. I had not heard from Jennifer in roughly a year when I got a call on Christmas Eve, right as I was going into church for some good singing of the Christmas classics. It ended up being a 2-hour session, and I missed Christmas carols that year, for she and her husband of 3 months had just had their first major blowout fight on Christmas. How could I say no? I dug around and discovered that this bucket list was part of the problem. Jennifer readily admitted that what was driving this big push to knock so many things off the list was the further desire she and her husband had to get pregnant in the next year. Jennifer was of the belief that once she got pregnant and once she had kids in the house, she would largely not be able to do the things that she still wanted to do. I teased her a bit, gently, in her belief that the adventurous go-get-em life ends once you have kids. She laughed. And then I stopped kidding with her and said, there is some truth to that, or there can be. There is only so much gas in the tank in any given day or month. But what was vividly apparent to me was that her mad quest to shrink the bucket list was driven ultimately by the fear, if I don't do these things now, I'll likely never be able to. The fear is not a good driver for bliss. Positive energy cannot be sought for negative reasons. Or rather, positive energy sources will be completely undermined and drained of their joy if pursued out of fear, which is precisely what was happening to her. She had become very uptight, very time-crunched, and as a result, her main relationship with her new husband was suffering. He had been complaining that he never gets to see her and that it's like they're already living somewhat separate lives, and even when they were together, she either had less energy or was not fully present. Thus, the grand effect was similar to wanting a donut for a tasty snack and then eating 11 of them and getting a serious stomachache or throwing up. Too much of a good things. But it was the fear driving her to do it that was the real problem. The fear of never getting another donut. She could not let go of the things she wanted. She was clinging tightly because she feared losing them if she didn't do them all now. Thus, she couldn't relax and actually enjoy them. And she was screwing over the one relationship that mattered most to her. What I helped her see as well was the negative energy rising up in herself and her relationship is the first indicator she was disconnected from her soul's voice. She was doing what she thought she should do, but at the expense of inner peace and joy. It's interesting that a bucket list can become a should or an obligation, isn't it? She had lost connection. The solution, therefore, was twofold. She had to reprioritize what was really most important in her life at this exact juncture and give that or those things her best energy. That meant letting go of some of the other things on her bucket list for now. For her fear had caused her to force results and caused her priorities to get jumbled, creating both chaos and anxiety that comes with chaos. Truth is, her diamonds list had become reshuffled. That was the disconnect from self she was experiencing in the form of anxiety, confusion, and light depression, as well as marital discord. She needed help refining her own highest priorities. Marriage trumped the others. It was her true non-negotiable. That required letting go of other diamonds or deprioritizing them half a notch or so to lesser positions for now. Far more importantly, the solution was really that she had to let go. She had to trust. She had to trust that in the reprioritizing she would be okay. She had to trust that she might be able to do some of these things later in life. She had to trust that while she might lose some things for now at least, that it's okay and life doesn't end because of it. She had to learn to trust that it will be okay even if she doesn't get everything she wants right now. In trust, she had to stop forcing life, forcing results. When happy memories inhibit action. In a similar vein, a couple in their mid-70s, whom I counseled recently, admitted that they were considering selling the house they had lived in for 40 years. Yet, because it was the house they had raised their now adult children in, and because they had so many warm and wonderful memories tied up in that house, not to mention lots of actual mementos of all that love and those experiences, they felt guilt over considering leaving, and were quite hamstrung by it all. I explained to them that my own parents went through something similar a decade or so ago. The joy that they had gotten from the house and all of the joyful reminders around the house began to be outweighed by the burdens all those mementos and the house that had held them had become. The upkeep of a good-sized house and the picks, knickknacks, memory-laden furniture, and so on was just too much for them, weighing them down, bleeding their life energy. I told the couple that clearly too much positive had become a negative. More importantly, the fear of letting down those children they had raised kept them in a happy house that had become a burden, depleting their joy and zest for life. We know our path in life by the energy it both brings and promises. And for this couple, the positive energy would come not in the form of excitement, but in the form of relief. The gods were calling them in a new direction through the voice of their own bodily energy. They knew they would have physical relief if they downsized to either a smaller house or a 2-bedroom condo, or possibly a sailboat in the marina, a lifelong dream. But again, their fear had been keeping them locked in an increasingly negative situation. More importantly still, what defined a diamond now was different from what had previously defined a diamond for them. They sought peace and relief, now more than the highs of new experiences. They had grown. They had outgrown. They had evolved, even in their 70s. They needed me to help them see the issues. But in the end, they needed to give themselves permission to change their values. It was they who needed to say it's okay that we're not who we were, and that who we are becoming is quite good, even if it is very different. They had to admit to themselves that relief is just as wonderful and legitimate as positive energy source as anything else. I had to help them see that sometimes the joys of having is well exceeded by the joys of having less. They admitted that their long buy-in to the societal myth that joy mainly comes from having more had grown so great that they couldn't see how much it was holding them back from the next stage of life. If we have less things, we'll be less happy, was their myth. They needed to see that in an odd twist of fate, precisely the opposite had become true. They needed to see that happiness is not just in having, but in doing, saying, becoming, and believing that which is reflective of your truth today. Further, they needed to see that letting go of old positive memories could give way not only to new energies, but to give room for more positive experiences and the wonderful creating of new positive memories. Dying for a dying spouse. I had an uncle Gunnar, whom I had grown fond of over the years. We had similar temperaments. We lived in separate cities, so we never got real close. But there was a shared fondness nonetheless. He was a total blue-collar guy, hard-nosed, and he took care of people, neighbors, former students, friends, family, when he didn't have to, simply because he had the energy to do so and liked helping out. I recollect visiting Uncle Gunnar more than once in his late years when passing through Denver. He had become largely bedridden in his early 70s, ravaged by a brain tumor. Still salty as ever, however, he was not afraid to get real and call it as he saw it, whether it was about his childhood, my grandparents, who were his parents, or his own failings, or just about anything. So while it wasn't completely out of character for him to say it, it still hit me strange when he said, "You know, Sven, caring for Doris," who was his wife, in her final 5 years as cancer killed her, is what is killing me now. I know I have this tumor because I kept her at home and did it myself. It just sucked everything out of me. So, forgive me for asking, I tap danced a bit, but why did you do it? It's who I am, who I was. I thought, I'll do it myself, I can handle it, and I didn't want her to be alone in a facility of any kind. So, your very nature then is what is killing you now. Absolutely. Two of the very biggest diamonds in his life, his wife and his indomitable generosity, led him down a path that created the very brain tumor that was killing him now. I didn't ask him if he regretted it. Implicit in his even stating it was a hint of regret. Fruitless to ask a dying man if he'd do it differently if doing it again. He was just being who he was. So to ask if he would do it differently would to be asked if longer life would be worth it if it came at the price of changing your inherent character at the last minute. I already have my own answer on that one. His diamonds killed him and he knew it. Finally, bottom line in all of this is that it is easy for positive energy sources to become negative energy sources if they are driven by fear of some sort. And the way to know if diamonds have slid partly into the sewage side of the ledger is to simply feel your energy. Are you down, drained, anxious, combative, or lethargic? It is necessary to identify and name the fear. Decide if you want to continue to live in that fear or let go of the fear, trusting you'll be okay no matter what happens. How awesome is this? This is going to be the book we're going to be giving away. It is an autographed copy as well, so please stay tuned for the information on that giveaway. Thanks for listening. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, share this out with your friends. At the end of the series, there will be a giveaway for a copy of your own book. Thank you.